everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dana. So normally when we do reaction videos here on this channel, I am usually reacting to music, occasionally TV shows, things like that. But today we're going to be doing something a little bit different, and we are going to be reacting to a YouTuber apology. Specifically the apology that Haley Pham and Ryan Trahan put out after getting married in the middle of a pandemic. So for those of you who don't know, Haley and Ryan are a couple. They independently were pretty big on YouTube, and then they got together, started dating, and I want to say they had a pretty quick relationship engagement period, and then they decided to get married. So I think let's go ahead and circle back, and I can kind of give a little bit of overview to the situation, and then we'll go ahead and watch the apology. So like I said, they are engaged, and I'm not actually sure around the time frame of when they got engaged, but essentially as soon as they got engaged, they made so many wedding planning videos. So they had wedding planning videos involving them going to pick out their venue, them going to pick out their cake, them doing their, bachelorette and bridal shower and all of those sort of things. And they even had a video where Haley actually tried on her wedding dresses and showed her wedding dress in her vlog. So her wedding was very publicly displayed on YouTube for everyone to see in terms of the planning aspect of it. All of that being said, her and Ryan were clearly making a lot of money on these vlogs. So I think that that's where it starts to get a little controversial because all of that was kind of happening throughout the summer and into the fall, and then all of a sudden all of the vlogs just kind of stopped. We didn't get any update. We didn't really know where the planning was going. We didn't know when the wedding was happening, and I think a lot of viewers, at least myself, I follow Haley pretty consistently, and I just kind of assumed they had to postpone their wedding due to COVID, and so we weren't really hearing any more information on it, and I think that that's kind of what a lot of people assumed. That was not actually what happened. So in November, Haley and Ryan actually went through and had the wedding. They kept it very private, so they didn't tell anyone on social media they were doing this, and there weren't really a lot of posts from it. But a couple months after the wedding, a different YouTuber here sort of pieced together some things and realized that they did indeed get married. So they had I believe a relatively large wedding. It was completely maskless, and they kind of hid it from social media. So there's a couple different reasons that the general public is upset at this. So firstly is the fact that they decided to have a wedding in the middle of a global pandemic. So I think obviously there's pieces of that are very upsetting to a lot of people, considering that different people's lives have been impacted in such huge ways by this global pandemic, and so many different people's events and different things have had to get canceled. Two of my 3 roommates had to cancel their weddings because of the pandemic, or move them or postpone them. So it's definitely not something that other people are also dealing with. So I think people were very upset by the fact that they decided to go through and actually have this wedding in the middle of the pandemic. But I think another part that people were really upset about was the fact that their wedding up until this point had been so highly monetized based upon all of her vlogs and all of that. And then all of a sudden you were just kind of dropped off the radar, and you didn't really hear anything else about what happened. So I think people were feeling a little bit entitled to seeing a vlog about the wedding, or seeing, those last vlogs leading up to the wedding, and they were very upset when they weren't able to see that. So in terms of my kind of opinions on both of those things, I think in regards to the kind of feeling entitled to seeing her wedding, I think, whether or not she decides to show her wedding on the internet is totally up to her. And I think that, as a fan and a viewer, I feel like, what she decides to put out there is what I'm entitled to see. And beyond that, the rest of that is her private and her personal life. So if she doesn't want to share the wedding with us, but she is okay with sharing, everything up until the wedding, I feel like I, as her viewer, should be okay with that. That being said, I do think that with this in particular, there's a little bit of an ulterior motive there, in that she didn't just want it to not be public, but rather she didn't want it to be public because she didn't want all of this backlash from her fans because she was having a wedding in a global pandemic without masks. So I feel like that's where I'm a little mixed on that opinion of I don't feel like she should be forced into sharing her wedding with us, but I do think her intentions in not sharing it were not just because she wanted it to be private. I feel like there was a little bit more there to it. All of that being said, it's her wedding and she can kind of do whatever she wants with it. In terms of the global pandemic aspects of it, I feel like it's a little That one is where I have a little bit of a harder time with it because this was in November. So this wasn't even like at the tail end of the pandemic like we are in now, or it wasn't even at the very beginning where maybe you didn't know better, but this was in November. This was like right in the middle of it, right before we peaked right back up again. And so I just feel like obviously there was a lot of kind of selfish choices being made here. So that's kind of some backstory on overall what happened. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna jump in, watch the apology video, and I will give you my thoughts on that. So it's just titled Married. So that's it, all lowercase. It's 5 minutes long. A couple things I want to point out is I do appreciate that she posted this on her main channel where she has the most subscribers. And I do appreciate that both she and Ryan were in this video. I know that she's been getting a lot of backlash for this, but I haven't really heard Ryan getting any, so I do appreciate that they're both here. So let's go ahead and jump in.
Okay, so this is a video that we should have made about 4 or 5 months ago. So we are married. We got married in November of 2020, which was obviously during the pandemic, and most people were not wearing masks.
Okay, I like that she starts off very forward. She's like, you know, we got married and that's what happened.
It's revealed that we have just cowered away from acknowledging it and addressing this for like such a long time. The thing is, we don't have a reasonable explanation, and that's something that we've had to come to terms with, because
there's no excuse for this. Like, at the end of the day, we were so set on getting married and so excited about it that we blinded ourselves to what's actually happening in the world, and we chose to be selfish, and we chose to make that decision anyways. What we did was reckless. It was honestly just unkind. It's so apathetic to the current state that the entire world is in right now.
I think I really appreciate their kind of approach to this apology, because I do feel like with a lot of YouTuber apologies these days, you get a lot of excuses, a lot of, you know, them trying to come to their own defense. But I do appreciate that Ryan and Haley here are just saying, you know what, like, we screwed up, we made a mistake. There is no excuse for why we did that, but ultimately we were just being selfish. I also think from a perspective of just trying to like empathize with them a little bit, I think I can understand where this would be a really difficult choice. You know, if a wedding's something you're already planning and you're so excited about it and you already have that kind of in your mind, I can see where that would be really difficult. So I think, you know, in terms of trying to understand them a little bit, I feel like it makes sense.
Ever since we started dating, we've been creating videos, obviously, and I feel like both of us had this ego when we started creating videos. We thought we were so mature, we thought we were like knew so much more than other people our age, and this is just the prime example of that. Like, this was literally the epitome of what that was to us. We put ourselves first before a world that's literally in pain right now.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, I feel like we're still in such an immature place, and we have so much growing to do now, and before we couldn't have sat here and said that.
I think I also really appreciate that aspect of it. I think something that Haley and Ryan have gotten a lot of flack for prior to all of the wedding stuff is kind of the maybe ego that they had, which I think is hard, because I do agree that, you know, there are definitely times where it seems like they've had, you know, maybe a lot of pride in what they're doing, or, you know, maybe their ego gets in the way of them viewing things more clearly. But I will say that they are both very young, and they both grew up on the internet in this weird place where, you know, they didn't necessarily come from really well-off families, but then upon, you know, their rise to fame on the internet, if you want to call it that, they all of a sudden had all of this money and all of these followers and all of these things. And so I think that I can definitely see kind of what led them there, but I do appreciate him talking about how, you know, that's kind of what got in the way of them like making this decision, and that they recognize that they have space to grow. So I do appreciate that.
Realizing now that the decision that we made were so prideful, and just thinking that we could somehow be afforded a wedding whenever all of this is going on, it's something that we regret so much now, and it's something that I wish, it seems so simple to me now, like, obviously don't do that, and we did it, and I can't go back and change that decision anymore. And so I feel like the only way now that we can actually do something tangible to just do something about it is to donate to a few nonprofit COVID relief organizations. I don't know. I feel like we can say we're sorry, but at the end of the day, it happened.
You know, they did what they could at this point, because I feel like it's been so many months later, and so all they really can do is apologize. And so I do feel like you know, she's kind of taking an extra step in that and trying to donate to COVID relief funding. So I do feel like I, you know, can appreciate that, trying to take accountability for her actions by taking action.
And beyond that, like, past few months, we've just been taking a look at everything that we've done. And so much of our immaturity really stemmed from our joint channel, Trey Family. Ultimately, we decided to take that channel down, to remove that channel, just because we know that you guys are right in that regard, and that channel is not a good thing. So this is also a thank you for opening your eyes and being honest. And I feel like it's something that we didn't get back to you guys for a really long time, obviously. I can understand if you guys are hurt.
I value you guys too much to hide this anymore, and I'm so sorry for how long I did hide it. And it just was getting to the point where, like, every time I picked up a camera, I was like, I'm hiding something, and this is not what I have built this community around. Like, I have treasured and valued so much the intimacy I feel with you guys, because I do feel so safe to tell you guys so much.
I think that that's one piece of this that I'm like a little confused by, because I understand, you know, maybe why someone would jump into having a wedding anyways, or like, you know, how they may be kind of blinded to the larger aspect of why that's wrong. And I get that part of it. But I think for Haley and Ryan specifically, I think I'm just a little confused as to how they thought that this was gonna go over. Because I feel like, okay, they have this wedding and then they keep making videos, you know, were people not gonna pick up on that? Were people not gonna question where the wedding video was after she had hyped it for so long? You know, at what point were they going to come out and say they got married? Were they going to host another like fake wedding to put online? So I guess my question is just like what they kind of expected to happen in terms of backlash for this. So I guess that part I'm a little bit confused about, but maybe that's just not something they were even thinking about in the moment. It's just a little hard for me to imagine that, given that combined, Haley and Ryan have literally millions of followers. And so I have to think that that would be something that was at least on your mind when you're making these decisions.
Thank you for just opening our eyes to that, and this is in no way an expectation of like a clean slate now. We have so much more work to do, but I think it's about time we take accountability for this and be honest with you guys.
I just want to make it clear that, like, this decision was both of ours, and I feel like I really don't get nearly as much fair criticism.
So I do appreciate that point too, where Ryan kind of stepped in and also kind of said, you know, this is also my fault. Again, I mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but he doesn't seem to get as much flack as Haley at all. And so I appreciate him stepping in and saying that.
Thank you guys so much. If you're even just watching to this point of the video, you even just hearing us out is something we don't even really deserve. And I'm just really grateful for the type of relationship we have here. And I want to do better for you guys. So yeah, we have so much more work to do, and just thank you for watching to this point. Okay,
I think in terms of general reaction, I think that we can all kind of agree that what Haley and Ryan did was probably not the smartest choice here. Holding a large event with no masks during a global pandemic, when you are an influencer who literally has millions of followers following you and who ultimately has an influence on other people and other people's decisions, I feel like, you know, we can agree that that is probably not the best choice. That being said, what we're here to analyze is the apology itself. And what I will say is it did feel very genuine to me. It feels like, you know, they have been kind of going through it with this, and whether that's because they got caught or because they feel genuinely, you know, sorry about this, I don't know. But what I can say is that I do appreciate their attitude in coming forward in a place of, you know, we know that we need to grow and we are working on it. I also think, you know, deleting their Trey Family channel was probably big for them. I know they probably lost a lot of monetization on that. And you know, donating to COVID relief funds, I do feel like it seems like they're trying to take some sort of action beyond that. At the end of the day, whether you accept this apology or not, if you're one of her viewers, is up to you. For me personally, I will probably continue watching Haley. I do feel like I would like to see how she comes out from this and how she grows from this. And I think another side of it that I want to kind of think about is how much shame and stress now surrounds like thinking back on her wedding day, and how just sucky that is. Obviously, like I said, we know she made a bad choice, but your wedding day is supposed to be like one of the happiest days of your life, and now when she thinks back on it, I feel like there's going to be a lot of really just horrible memories associated with it. So I do feel like she also has that she's going to probably live with for the rest of her life, and Ryan as well. But again, he's just not getting nearly as much of the backlash as she is, so I'm sure that it's been taking its toll on her. So you know, I think that's a piece of it to kind of, again, try to like empathize with, because I'm sure that that's not easy either. That being said, I do appreciate their apology just generally, and I do appreciate them kind of bringing light to the subject since it had been kind of floating around the internet. Go ahead and leave a comment down below letting me know what you think of their apology. And other than that, feel free to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It really helps me out, and I do put out new videos weekly. And other than that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye, everyone.
She's a Mona Lisa. Everyone's lining up to see her.